Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and today I am going to be taking you for a walk through the Proven Winners perennial bed. So this bed has all Proven Winner introductions on it. We're here at Walter's Gardens today. We're in a zone 5B 6A garden, so let's go ahead and take a walk and see all the beautiful things that are blooming right now, the beginning of June. There's so much in this garden. We're going to focus currently here on the things that are actually flowering. We're in the beginning of June right now in West Michigan. Like I said, we're a zone 5B, 6A, and really there's quite a lot of color going on right now. The first thing we're coming across here is the Dicentra or bleeding heart. This is pink diamonds, beautiful bluish gray foliage, pink little dangling hearts. This plant blooms all summer in this full sun location. One of the longest blooming perennials actually in this bed. Next we have the salvia. This here is the salvia pink dawn. Beautiful plant, great for pollinators, nice mounding habit, about 24 or so inches tall and wide. You can trim this plant back when it's done blooming and you'll get additional blooms throughout the summer. The Baptisia or false indigo, they are spot on right now. Here we have the Decadence Cherries Jubilee. This plant is about 4 foot tall and it's a fairly mature plant. It's about 4 foot wide as well, and it features these burgundy and yellow flower spikes. It's just starting to bloom, and this is the time I like to get out and do video of this plant because I think this is when it absolutely is in its prime. You can see how it's just dancing out here in the breeze. Gorgeous colors. I'll be showing you more, so if red isn't your color, or if you like to just mix and match a bunch of things, there'll be more colors coming. Here's a beautiful little plant. This is the Salvia Color Spire's Violet Riot. Beautiful deep purple blooms. This plant's about 20 to 24 inches tall and wide, creates a very nice mounding type habit. Love that purple color. Behind it is another Baptisia. This is the Decadence Pink Lemonade, and this is actually part of the Deluxe series, and basically what that means is it's a little bit bigger, taller plant. So this one is just starting. So mostly you're just seeing the yellow flowers, but as those flowers age, they're going to continue to get yellow up to the tip of the spike, but then the bottom flowers as they age, they're going to have pink tones, thus the name Pink Lemonade. Here we have Nepeta. This is Cat's Meow, and this is Cat's Meow on steroids because this plant is huge right now. Some of what you're seeing here in the garden, especially with this plant here, how it's kind of split open, is we've had pretty drought conditions here. Like, look at that grass. This is normally beautiful green grass, and right now we just have not had rain for a very long time, so a lot of things are kind of taking a toll because of it. But Cat's Meow usually is a beautiful plant. What I would do when this one is done flowering is I would trim it back to the ground, and it will flush back out and bloom again throughout the summer. So this is not what's typical of this plant, so please don't let this be something that would deter you from perhaps buying the Cat's Meow. Behind the Cat's Meow is another Baptisia or false indigo. This one is Lemon Meringue. Lemon Meringue features beautiful yellow flowers, and I say beautiful like beautiful because this is really a great yellow color. Not too bright, not too pale, just really a perfect yellow. And this one is just starting to come into bloom, makes a great cut flower. Baptisia are a native variety. So one thing I do like to point out to people is when you are planting your Baptisia, make sure that you're putting it in its forever home because they do have a very deep root system. Next we have another one. This one is a little bit younger plant, but this is the Baptisia Sparkling Sapphires. So the height you're seeing really is not a good indicator of how tall this plant gets. This plant will also get about 3.5 to 4 foot tall. Beautiful deep purple blooms. You can see this one is just starting to bloom. Gorgeous purple color. I could totally see doing a hedgerow of all the different color Baptisia and just creating a beautiful array of color. Some more salvia. This is the Violet Profusion. This is a little bit more of a compact habit salvia, 20 or so inches tall. This one's just starting to bloom here out in this garden, but loads of flowers. A great plant that once it's done flowering, go ahead and give it a light trim and it will be back to flowering again in no time. The clematis is blooming. This is the clematis Stand By Me. This is a non-clinging clematis, so it's a clematis that you would want to plant either in a obelisk like what they have here, or in a tomato cage, or even pair it next to some taller varieties that can keep this plant upright. Clinging varieties would wrap and twist around the structure they're planted on. This one does not wrap and twist, so it needs something more for support. You can see all of these beautiful flower buds. A few flowers are just starting to open. A little bit of an atypical clematis flower in the sense of a lot of times when you think of clematis, you think of like the big 4 to 6 inch blooms, where these are more of a bell-shaped dangling type of a flower form. Continuing on as we walk through the garden, lots of pink in front of us. In the front, we have this nice ground cover. This is Dianthus Paint the Town Fancy. Beautiful magenta blooms, very low growing. It's only about 6, maybe 8 inches tall. This is massive color in the beginning of June, and then we also see that this one reblooms throughout the summer. We may not get this, this massive color like we're seeing now, but to me, any plant that reblooms is a bonus bloom for later on in the season. Next, we have a grouping of the pink profusion salvia. I'm hoping we were actually seeing these. It's so hot and so bright right now that I'm having a hard time seeing my screen. So I'm looking for shadows in the phone camera. But this is the pink profusion. Again, a fairly compact variety, only about 20 or so inches tall and wide. Creates a very nice mounding habit, and the pollinators are going crazy on this plant right now. Behind it is another salvia, and we're actually going to talk about that when we get to the other side because the name is on the other side. Next, we're going to talk about sedum, and not because the sedum are flowering, but because the sedum have great foliage. This here is the sedum back in black, very, very dark foliage, really cool mounding type habit, and then in the fall it's going to get a pinkish, reddish pinkish flowers on it. Really beautiful, but up until the point of the fall, we really have some nice foliage that we can enjoy. Planted in front of it, more foliage color, is a Heuchera dolce wildberry. These are planted in full sun and loving it. Heuchera, if you have troubles with them or corbels, some people will say, I can't grow those well. Well, the thing with corbels is they do like to be in a little bit more drier type area. If you have them in a really well irrigated area, they may not do quite as well for you. But look at that beautiful purple foliage. Not much to talk about as far as the flowers. There are some, they're white, they're pretty insignificant, but the foliage on that plant is what really is the interesting point. Next, we have some salvia. This is Salvia Snow Kiss. It's nearly white, although I can't say it's white, because there is just a little kiss of pink and purple that shows in this plant. This is a taller variety. 24 plus inches tall and wide. This too, you can see all these beautiful blooms up here at the top, but if we go down and look at the bottom, there's more buds just waiting to explode. So this salvia, when it's done flowering, give it a light trim, and it will be blooming again in no time for you to give you that extended color throughout the season. Making our way around, we're seeing a lot of green, but we're also seeing a few more interesting foliage colors. The silver we're seeing is a new Artemisia, and just look at how it's dancing there in the breeze. Great silver color. Looks really nice in this garden. It's a little bit of a crawler, but not something that's going to really take over the garden. But this is a plant, you would say, the right plant for the right location. Don't plant it and think it's just going to stay in its one tidy little spot. It is going to spread a little bit in your garden space. Tucked behind it and hiding is the dark side of moon astilbe. So you can see that really dark foliage. It gets beautiful purple flowers on it in the summer, but even now when it's not blooming, that foliage is pretty special. Making our way around, I see a lot of things that will be blooming on our next visit. Monarda and Dianthus. But for now, we're going to focus on what is blooming currently. Here we have Heuchera evening gown, a great foliage plant. Nice large leaves, heavily ruffled. This gets a little bit of flower on it, but really you're planting this, I think, mostly for that beautiful foliage color. Some more sedum. This is the coral jade sedum. Great color, even though it's not flowering quite yet. All right, I said we'd head back to the pink variety. Now I do see the name tag, so I can tell you exactly which one this is. This is the back to the fuchsia. Beautiful fuchsia blooms. They're almost a bicolor bloom. We'll go in closer. There's a lighter pink and a darker pink, or maybe you're going to say it's purple, Heidi, not pink. However you want to see it, I see it as gorgeous. Next, up front and center here is more dianthus. This is Dianthus Paint the Town Red. Beautiful, low growing, mounding ground cover. Blooms really spectacular here early summer. It's just starting to bloom, so there's a lot of buds yet coming. But when it's done flowering, it'll continue to bloom throughout the summer. Not as prolific, but again, any blooms you get are bonus blooms. Now, if we're talking about a plant that you really want the right plant in the right place and to be maybe a little careful of, that would be this oregano. So this is a beautiful plant, beautiful foliage. It's called Drops of Jupiter. It gets purple flowers on it midsummer, and just look at that beautiful splash of color. But if you're looking, you're also seeing how it's really made itself at home in its location. It's even kind of encroaching there on those phlox, saying, get out of my way, I'm coming in. So right plant, right location, great foliage. Just be mindful of where you're planting it, because it does seem to be a little bit of a garden hog. Next, we have the Amsonia string theory. Beautiful periwinkle blooms. So this blooms a little bit later than the storm cloud that I talk a lot about. This has got finer foliage, and this foliage is beautiful in the fall. Turns shades of orange and yellow. So it's kind of a twofer. You get the beautiful spring blooms and the gorgeous fall foliage. Up front, we have Salvia, Color Spares, Crystal Blue. A very light blue blooming salvia. It almost matches perfectly with that string theory Amsonia. Behind the salvia, we have the lemon squeeze pennisetum grass, which is chartreuse green, a little bit of yellow hint there. They're just starting to emerge, but they'll get about 3 foot tall by the end of the summer. A few more little Paint the Town fuchsia dianthus up front, and a mass of dianthus Paint the Town magenta. Look at that gorgeous splash of color. Can you imagine all that color out in your garden? Next, we have some more heuchera or corbels. This is spearmint, and the thing I like about spearmint is it may not have the most flashiest of foliage, kind of green with a little bit of a silver overlay, but it sure does have flashy flowers. Look at those beautiful red blooms. This plant blooms nearly all summer long, so you've got the great foliage, the beautiful flowers, as they just are rustling there in the breeze. And here's kind of a smorgasbord of salvia, a few different colors kind of all mixed in. Some more corbels. This is the Primo Wild Rose. Beautiful rosy burgundy foliage. A few cherry truffles that were just planted, so they're quite young looking yet. More salvia. This is the Perfect Profusion, which is a very light blue color. And you can see there's a little pink one that wanted to make itself at home. Peachberry Ice Heuchera is a beautiful peachy colored foliage plant you're seeing there. And that really stands out nice in this garden. I want to talk about this foliage though too. So this is Hibiscus Edge of Night. These probably just started emerging 2 weeks ago maybe. With the rose mallow or hardy hibiscus, they're late to emerge, but once they do, wow, they go to town. And look at that great dark foliage. So Edge of Night's going to have a pinky flower up against that almost near black foliage. It's gorgeous in August. But until then, we get to enjoy the foliage. Some eucalyptus just starting to emerge. This is Purple Rain. Flowers not showing, but pretty cool foliage. And I think we're probably going to be ending our tour here with the Paint the Town Fancy Dianthus, because this is the end of our color. Again, Paint the Town Fancy Fuchsia. I think this is a good idea to show you this as well, because these were recently planted. So you can see kind of the habit and the size of this plant when they're newly planted. But as they continue to grow, they will turn into a massive ground cover full of gorgeous, gorgeous blooms like we've seen earlier in this video. Thank you for watching today. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Any of the plants that I talked about here in this video, we have available on our website at gardencrossings.com. We are a mail order company as well as a retail garden center located in Zeeland, Michigan. If you're new to our channel, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you can get updated every time we post a video. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.